session, AI-powered underwriting. Let's talk about AI in the context of underwriting. Before we start, you got the heck of it maybe already. If you open the app and you go to our session, at the bottom there's a place to ask questions. Please do that, because at the end of the session we can look at your questions and provide answers. I'm Gijsbert Cox, industry lead for insurance at Appian, focused mainly on EMEA, and together with me is Andy Kearns.
Yeah, Andy Kearns. I'm Gijsbert's peer. I serve mostly North America. I've been with Appian just shy of a year, but about 20 years in industry, and super excited to talk to you about underwriting today.
Excellent. So 20 and 20 years, 40 years of insurance together on stage. And we are glad to have Vijay Dayaliswaran also on stage later from Canada Life to talk about how they use AI in underwriting for life. So it's very exciting. And after he speaks, we're also going to look a bit in the future and see what agentic AI can mean in underwriting. But first, let me give you a bit of the wider context of how Appian is used in insurance. Because we are very pleased that we have about 95 insurance companies at Appian that we see as customers. And we're very pleased that in the last 3 days there have been fantastic insurance content on stage at Canada Life, Mutual, Aon, lots of demonstrations about insurance. So we're very pleased about that investment of our customers and Appian itself. And we add a lot of good value to the industry, which has been investing in tech over the last 50 to 60 years. One of the first to adopt the old AS400s to store policy and claims data. And that's all fine, but it was all very departmental, right? So it is all still very departmental. Claim systems, policy systems, billing systems. And that's fine in a certain extent, but if you think end to end or try to innovate, that's quite difficult, right? If you want to bring that data in the process, it's quite dispersed. And Appian has a very good answer to that IT legacy and how to innovate. Because it's needed, because the market is changing fast and old ways of working are leading to a lot of inefficiencies and lack of control, which leads to failure, loss of profit, and also loss of market share, as that we see. And then think about the enormous amount of change in the world, right? Climate change, huge impact on the insurance industry, and an increasing insurance gap, which is painful for a lot of customers and a lot of companies as well. But it's also an opportunity for insurance companies, right? We are in the risk business as insurance companies, so it's an opportunity, but it means that you need to be able to innovate and define new products and actually jump into that opportunity. And that requires innovation. But also think about regulations, like more and more scrutiny is asked from insurance companies. So that means what are you doing in your end-to-end processing? Show that, you have to show reports, provide control in those processes. And that requires a different way of working. All new processes that are required and new methods of working. And if you see on this slide, this is how we support insurance companies. So not only underwriting and claims that we talked about at this event, but also marketing distribution, like working better with your brokers, reinsurance, lots of reinsurance companies that we have, very complex in terms of data and analysis. We can support that, but also regulatory and compliance, and corporate services. So that's all the areas where we support. And ultimately, what Appian does is we provide more efficiency for your people and allowing you to grow with keeping the cost in control so that you can make a profit and increase speed of innovations and go to market faster. And also, lastly, provide insight in those processes, right? Those processes that are done day to day, that you get better understanding, can support your people, and also get the feedback to innovate more and learn from your process of how you're doing them today. And we have built insurance solution on top of our platform to support you and go to market faster. Just quickly explaining, Connected underwriting for P&C is all about complex submissions coming in, analyzing the risk, analyzing the customer, and creating a quote ultimately. That process from submission to quote is often done in Outlook, in Excels, talking to your colleagues, sending emails to your colleagues, sending emails to your brokers. There's a lot of things happening that are not visible, and there's a lot of inefficiencies there, and that's actually what we tackle with this solution. Connected underwriting for life, we talk about later in more detail. That's actually about support the straight-through processing, but also honing in on the exceptions handling, where there's more case management, and a lot of work is required for asking for additional medical information and analyzing that before you get to a conclusion of, yes, we are insuring this person, or no, we cannot insure this person. And then connected claims, fantastic. We launched a rejuvenated connected claims. It's already a very successful product, but we have had a fantastic presentation yesterday of what has changed in that solution. If you missed that, please, it's been recorded, so you can watch it later in your own time. But let's talk about connected underwriting for life. And Andy, would you like to explain what that entails if we open up the hood?
Yeah, so if we jump to the next slide, this gives us a little bit of a schematic of what the underwriting platform or the underwriting workbench with Appian looks like. And so I'll walk you through this a little bit, and then we're going to focus today on that middle part, that third-party evidence. And that's what Vijay's conversation is going to be around. But the workbench is designed from the beginning of the process where an application comes in, whether that comes through an e-app or some sort of other submission process. And then the workbench is designed to support straight-through processing, but also identify areas where you have additional touches that need to happen, whether that be for assigning underwriters that need to look at and ask for different information, whether it be medical records or those different things, bringing that in. And again, you have Appian's data fabric, so you can bring information in from across the organization. And then within the workbench, you can analyze and use different data so you can get your better decisions faster. And then, of course, we link into policy administration systems so that you can continue with your current process. So as I mentioned, we're going to look a little bit more at the beginning. And this is an attending physician statement use case that Canada Life is working on right now. So we're going to introduce onto the stage Vijay Dalishwaman, and he is the AVP and Head of Business Automation Technology at Canada Life. He's an experienced technology leader with over 2 decades of expertise in the financial services and insurance domain. And Vijay leads the enterprise business orchestration and automation capabilities and workflow, case management, RPA, IDP, rules management, and a lot of different things. So welcome Vijay to the stage.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. So today I wanted to talk about how we at Canada Life are using AI to improve efficiencies in the underwriting process, very specifically as it relates to underwriters' time to review the attending physician statements. What you can see here, these are not just our problems. Any insurance company will have these. These are very typical problems that any insurance company will have. Underwriting in itself is such a complex, multi-step, time-consuming process. So on an average, we take about 25 days to make an underwriting decision. And while we have to make decisions faster, the evaluations have to be accurate as well. And again, specifically talking about APS, these are massive documents. Sometimes they are 20 pages, sometimes they are 400 pages. So reviewing them takes a lot of time. Manual review takes at least a minute a page, so it is a time-consuming process. Our going in position in terms of, hey, if we use Appian to Appian's AI capabilities to apply on the APS documents in terms of extraction and summarization, our hypothesis was we can actually reduce underwriters' APS review timelines by 50 to 70%. And also, by providing like an easy to consume summary, we can enable high quality risk analysis as well. And also, instead of going through the entire like a 100+ page document, we increase the efficiency by focusing only on the key risk factors. So with this hypothesis, we wanted to prove that hypothesis. So we took a pilot implementation approach using Appian's out-of-the-box GenAI capabilities. And it was about like 3 to 4 weeks of total development effort, kind of shared between a core development of our pilot standalone solution, which I will talk about in the next few slides. And then we spent another 2 weeks for prompt refinements. From an underwriter standpoint, again, this is a pilot implementation, which I have a demo as well. For the pilot implementation, we built a standalone solution where the underwriters are provided with a screen where they can retrieve the APS, which is stored in our enterprise content management technology. And once it gets retrieved, it gets uploaded into the APS document summarization solution. And we provide them like a dashboard with a list of all the APSs that has been summarized, and it is ready for the underwriter's verification. When they click on one of the summarized document, they can actually look at the critical components that has been extracted by GenAI. So as you can see here, like we at Canada Life, we have built an underwriting workbench using Appian for our life insurance. As you can see, the underwriters will see all the cases to be reviewed, and one of the cases has a APS document request. And as you all know, and I mentioned as well, these APSs are massive documents with so many different information like medical records, medication, things like that. And it is very complex and unstructured in nature. So in our case, the underwriters, if they have to manually review it, they take about like a minute per page. So think about like a 300-page document. It's basically 5 hours of their effort in just manually reviewing these documents. So this is the pilot solution that we built. We used the private AI agent, which automatically extracts all the information that we need to provide as a summary. The information is categorized into, as you can see, medical history, document visits, and some relevant reports, which can be filtered through. And within those categories, there is a search functionality as well, if you wanted to, deep dive into some of the specific information. We have also embedded like AI chat within the document summarization solution, where you can actually interact with the document. If you didn't find the information that you're looking for, or if you wanted to find some extra information than what has been provided as a summary, you can ask the records chat agent, and that will interact with the document and actually provide you with the response. And then it will also point to where it has, which it took the information from the document. So we are a Canadian company, so it has to be, the solution has to be bilingual. So the records chat also, we can use French language to interact with the document, as you can see here. Now I wanted to spend like a few seconds on how we build the solution. This is day 3 of this event. You would have heard many number of times how easy it is to build solutions on Appian. So we use the Appian Process Modeler to build the process. And you heard Matt talk about, and several others in this conference talk about, having AI part of your process. So that is what you see here, with some pre-processing steps as well as post-processing steps. The extraction and summarization itself using Appian's out-of-the-box GenAI is built on AI Document Center, which makes it very easy to build the prompts. All you have to do is, provide the data labels, data elements that you wanted to extract, and then provide some natural language prompts. And the AI Document Center, it automatically builds the prompts for you. So with this solution, the results were amazing. What the hypothesis that we had, that this solution would reduce underwriters' APS review timelines by 50 to 70%. We actually beat that. So there has been like a 75% reduction in underwriters' time to review APS. And again, like the efficiency gains by reviewing only the summary versus the entire APS, it reduces the time and increases the efficiencies for the underwriting team. And also, we found like it is the solution provided, the summary provided by the solution had like 98% accuracy. And one thing that we found later on was this is like a reusable solution. Like this is document extraction as well as summarization, and this solution can be extended for other documents like paramedical reports as well. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Vijay. Before you jump off stage, we did get one question.
Sure.
And I think it's relevant for you. The question is, what are some lessons learned or tips to navigate through cyber legal risk and compliance to approve Gen AI in your organization?
So we have, obviously, there will be concerns whenever AI or Gen AI is used in any of the solutions, and in industries like ours, which is super risk-based, there were concerns. So within our company, we have like a very elaborate AI governance process. So every use case which uses AI, we'll have to go through the governance process, who has guardrails, guidelines for data privacy, data residency. We have a huge data residency requirements, so data has to reside in Canada. Appian is hosted on AWS Central within Canada, so that helps. And with role-based access control, so all of these goes through the governance process. And one thing that helps with this is Appian's private AI, which says, the LLMs are ours, and then the data that the LLMs use to train is not used by anybody else. So that actually helps as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Let's give Vijay one more round of applause. And we want to thank Vijay. He's been a champion. He's been on stage multiple times this week at Appian World, and we appreciate all he's done.
Thank you.
And I love this example that you shared because it shows what we've been talking about. It's AI in process. It shows how simple it is, how regulated it is, but then how much efficiency it can drive. He's talking about 75 and 80% improvement in the efficiency of the time that it takes to go through an APS. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So was there another question in the app? Sorry. This is multitasking to its finest.
Yeah, let me help.
We might have to bring Vijay back up a little bit later, but somebody says, what issues did you face when you weren't expecting in setting this up? And how did you get the underwriters on board with trusting the summary? Was there a ramp-up time to fully trust the solution? We'll get to some of these questions a little later. We'll bring Vijay back up, or we'll catch him afterwards. And because it's been a journey, it wasn't super easy for them. It's been a journey, but they've done a great job with it. So what we're going to transition now is transition over to our P&C conversation. And we want to take it to the next level. Like, where are we going to go next? We saw agentic AI within the process, generative AI within the process with APS. We're going to talk a little bit about more agents and what they can do. So Gijsbert, in terms of agent functionality, what do we have and how does it work and where are we going with it?
Yeah, so we talked about it a lot in the last 3 days, right? We have all these agents set up for you already to do the things that Vijay talked about, the extraction of documents, the extraction of emails, but also the classification, train an AI agent to classify it, to send it to the right team, email summarizations, document summarization. These are all things that our customers are using now, and that's fantastic. But we wanted to take it a bit further and see what we can do more with that, right?
Yeah, so this on the screen here is, again, it's another picture of the Appian Process Modeler. And when we talk about AI in process, it really is that simple, right? So on the left-hand side, it's tools, and the functionality is simply drag and drop. So you're going to find a more and more robust offering of AI tools that are going to be available, or agents that are going to be available within the Process Modeler. You can simply drag those and drop them right into your process. This is core to bringing AI to work, putting AI into a place where it can think, act, and learn, as we've heard on the main stage so many times this week. This is going to make it very simple for you, and in that process, it's going to be very well governed, because there's rules in the process, there's transparency into the process, there's human oversight into the process, and of course, there's intervention. So all along this process, you've got the ability for those to work out. So this is available today. You've seen Agent Studio. There's going to be more and more available as we go forward. But when we think about next level, where is it that we can go next, Gijsbert?
Yes, and it's been addressed also in the last session in the general for mortgages. But so I thought this picture was very clear, where you know on the left-hand side it's less autonomy. You have rules-based automation, and once you bring in an AI agent, you can automate and have that operate between AI and actually your in process. So the AI is put into a process. But some processes are hard to automate, right? So there's too many variables there, and that's great for Appian, right? You can actually define that process and have these AI agents in that process to automate it actually and take it a step further. And since it's controlled in Appian in a process, it's interesting for insurance companies, I think, because it's, as Vijay said, it's highly regulated, so you know what you're doing. You can actually play and learn from it and deploy it in your organization. So you can actually move it more and more to that autonomy to the right-hand side and have multiple agents and more agentic AI. And that's what we want to look at, right? Andy, so let's have a look at the P&C underwriting process.
Yeah, so again, this is our P&C workbench and kind of a diagram of what it might look like. Starting on the left with your submission process, going into document and data ingestion, triage and assignment, so making sure that the right policy or the right submission is going to the right underwriter with the right information. And then the underwriter is going to do additional gathering of information, whether that be data that's within their organization, and that's going to be accessed through Data Fabric, or data that's found outside the organization, satellite imagery if you're looking at properties, and you might have all sorts of different things that you're looking at there. And then really getting into the risk and assessment portion. And then you start to think about how can we do this better, and you ultimately push it back into your policy administration system where you do your quote and bind. And along each one of these steps, there's opportunity to introduce AI to then make your decision process better, so that your underwriters stop doing manual entry. They're not doing gathering of information in the traditional sense, which is more of an administrative function. The underwriters are really taking time to process more information than they've ever had before to make better decisions faster. We know from a McKinsey study that underwriters spend a huge amount of their time, 30–40% of their time in many cases, doing administrative functions. And so we want to remove that barrier so that they can do what they do best and make decisions. And AI is going to make that possible. The underwriting workbench makes that possible as it is, but AI is going to make that even better. And so what we're going to do now is highlight a couple areas within this process where we feel agents and agentic AI are going to be the future.
But before you do that, I think it's an important thing that you said, is that our solution that we have now out of the box, what we have now, is already providing a lot of efficiencies, right? We're already having AI for extraction of documents and to summarize documents and to actually support this process and get that efficiency and a 360 view of the customer and the risk. So we have that already, but we thought, well, what if we apply agentic AI to this solution in this process? So we wanted to show you what that could mean. So let's have a look at that. So we are training basically an agent here to support the underwriter to do all this complex work. So let's have a look what that is, what that could mean. Shall I take the first one?
Yeah, please do.
So just to give you a perspective of what a lot of underwriters are facing. So in personal lines, it can be quite simple if you're talking about a car insurance or something, but imagine more commercial lines where there's a lot of complexity and a lot of brokers are asking for a quote. They're shopping for a quote basically, and maybe some of you recognize that. So they send a lot of information from their customer, the risk information, the client information, the loss history. They send that to an insurer, say, well, let me see what kind of quote I can get, right? So the underwriters are facing an email box with an email saying, can you give me a quote on, and we took an example of a commercial property, so maybe this hotel, for example, right? And so you get an email with a huge number of attachments. So about the risk, about the customer, and so that you get that in your email box. But so if you can actually train an AI agent to extract all that information and capture the request of the risk, so understand the property, get that all structured in your system of the demand, what do they want to insure it for, like fire, flood, liability potentially, and it can already use that information to assign it to the right team. So it comes into your email box and it goes straight to the team. But it is not finished there, right? You can actually take it a bit further.
Yeah, and in this specific case, we're talking about loss runs. But you can take that even further where you understand a lot more about this. So, I mean, you're always going to get a submission with loss runs. But what other information do you know about these losses? How can you bring in publicly available data? What else do you know? Maybe because you've had this customer in the past. So mining information from your own databases, from your own CRM, and then bringing that into that point of conversation while the underwriter is making a decision on what does the loss history look like for this specific customer, and what would we expect those losses to be as we go forward. And this helps us quite a bit in creating a customer 360 view. So again, with Appian's data fabric, you're already connected to your CRM, you're connected to your policy administrative system, you're connected to your billing system, you're connected to all your other systems within your organization. So you'll now know, we got a submission for this hotel. Is Marriott a customer somewhere else? Well, they probably are. So let's make sure that we evaluate this hotel in context of the customer as a whole. Not necessarily this one property, but let's look at it as a whole. How many properties do they have with us? What's the loss history, not on this property specifically, but the one in Nashville? They've been around a lot longer, so they're going to have more losses. So let's be able to identify that, take a more holistic look so that your underwriter now has better information. Not just the stuff that came in the submission, but augmented information. Because what we're trying to do with AI is we're trying to give the underwriter things that they haven't had in the past. And that gives us a great opportunity as we look at that customer holistically.
And that's not easy. Just for instance, if you got a junior underwriter and they get this submission coming in, so taking the example of the hotel, they see Gaylord, okay, we don't have a Gaylord insured, but actually they forget to check that it's related to Marriott, right? So the complete picture of the Marriott hotels might be something that they forget. If you train your AI model to look into your databases of your policy administration, your CRM, you can get a better view. And in the past, I remember situations in the insurance companies that I worked, we forgot to see that actually the person that requests something actually has a business, so it's actually a big customer. So you need to have that picture as an insurance company, so you can train your AI to do all that tedious work for you. And then you can also create a risk profile, right? About where is it located, this risk? What do we know from that location? What does satellite information say, flood information? Just to give all that information, that becomes more and more important because insurers used to look at like the history of 10 years ago, but more and more you need to be forward-looking in underwriting because things are changing so fast. So you need that satellite information to understand climate change and the risks that actually are important for this particular risk. So, and then don't forget the aggregated view, right? Like what else are we securing in that particular postcode or particular address, which is really important because if you're imagining an apartment block, right? You might want to know if you have insured more apartments in that particular building. That's, again, tedious work. You can train this AI agent. So far, we've got already a lot of information, and the AI agent is working and supporting the underwriter here.
And one thing just to kind of add on this, remember, especially in complex underwriting, we have an aging population of underwriters. They've been doing this for a long time, and they're really good at it. And they know what they've done, and maybe they like their old processes, but it's really hard to take 40 years of underwriting knowledge and pass it on to someone who's just graduating from college and have them be just as efficient. And we're not saying that AI can replace 40 years of experience, but it can put a lot of information at your fingertips, and it can guide a junior underwriter through the process that a senior underwriter has learned over many, many years, and it can help bridge that talent gap that we're eventually going to see within the insurance industry. So AI is really going to be a very strong impactor when it comes to our talent generations. And then also, once we have all this information, of course, we have the capability to score our underwriting submissions and automatically score our underwriting submission against the appetite, against our capital models. Do we already insure too many Marriotts? Do we have too much going on in Aurora, Colorado? There's a lot going on in Aurora, Colorado, but maybe not too much. So we've got, we can have AI compare against all these things. So when the underwriter gets the submission and they start looking through it, you already have kind of a winnability score or a submission score or some sort of opportunity where you kind of already know, do I want to chase this and how hard do I want to chase this? Because every time you chase a really good opportunity, you have to give it time and energy. And when you have thousands of opportunities coming in on a monthly and annual basis, you have to pick and choose what you're going to chase. So let AI help you weed out what you want and what you don't want. When I was a young underwriter, I would spend the same amount of time on a policy, on a submission that came in that had $2,500 worth in premium, as I would on something that had $250,000 worth of premium. Why was that? It makes no sense. Because the process was what the process was. And I still had to evaluate that risk with the same level of scrutiny as I had to do the other one. Now, I had to get my manager involved to get the approval on the bigger ones, but it took the same amount of time to build the case and to make the decision. Yeah, I can zip us through some of those simpler decisions and make it much faster, much easier. And this brings us all together, Gijsbert, into kind of a compilation of risk submissions that are ready to go. They're ready for human decisions. We're not replacing the human decision. We're augmenting the human in their capabilities. We're bringing better data to them. So again, they can make their decisions faster and better, which will overall impact the profitability of the organization. And importantly, their ability to grow in an environment with a lot of submissions coming in. We have one customer right now that can only get to 25% of their submissions that come in on an annual basis. And their aspirations is to grow, to double the size of their organization. How do you do that if you can only get to 25% of your submissions? You use the tools available to make your process more efficient, to make machines do work for you, AI do work for you, so that your underwriters can look at 75 or 80% of submissions rather than 25, so that you can hit your growth targets into those aspirations.
Yeah. Yeah, and imagine what this means, right? Like all those submissions that I talked at the start, that are sent in by a broker. So the full email box. And you come in the office as an underwriter, you go for a coffee, and overnight, the AI agents have all organized your work for you. You come to your desk, you see the prioritization, and you can do the proper underwriting task of looking at the risk and making a sensible decision on these risks and whether you accept it or not. So that is what the future, the near future, looks like. It's already possible, and we think this is game-changing, also in underwriting for P&C as it is in life.
So we're going to look at our app, which we're not very good at looking at, obviously, and see if there's any questions. But if you have anything that didn't pop up in the app, feel free to jump in and ask us any questions that you might have. So let's see, Gijsbert. As you integrate with your own LLM with Appian GenAI, what were the key challenges around document size and accuracy, and how are you leveraging the extracted data across other use cases? Vijay, I think they really want to hear from you on some of these. I don't think they really want to hear from us.
No.
Do we have a mic that we can hand him? So while Vijay's getting that, there's a couple P&C ones. It says, does the P&C vision cover ongoing book management and book of business analysis use cases? What do you think on that one, Gijsbert?
It's a specialty use case. So once the policy is issued before renewal, can an underwriter look at all the policies they have that are assigned to them for their accounts and manage them throughout the year? One of those use cases is getting it out of the admin, because currently today a lot of it's in the admin.
Yeah. No, I think I have a feeling you answered the question already. I think we can train AI agents on that, right? And I think the portfolio analysis, it's a lot of tedious work involved. So I think that's a fantastic use case to train AI agents and understand and dig through that portfolio and come up with recommendations. Again, in process, AI in process, under the control of the head of underwriter or the head of that book of business. So yeah, it's a fantastic other use case. We've got some work to do to create all these demonstrations next time, because I want to have those demonstrations for you to see what that could mean. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And mostly we've talked about new business submissions, but just simply exchange that entry point into renewal and book analysis. And of course, we can build book analysis into the process right from the beginning. So then you're always having to look. And I mean, if you know, like if you want to trigger, like, hey, they've had 3 claims, I'm just going to non-renew this guy. There's almost nothing they can do. Like, let's get some auto non-renewals out there. Let's get the process going. So, okay, VJ, let's give you a chance here. Let's get that microphone back up there. First question. Let's go back a couple of minutes, which is hard for me to remember. I know you guys are smarter than me. So, when you think, VJ, about you rolled out APS.
I'll start with my answer, but I'll phone a friend. I'm gonna call Fadi to give some specifics. So as you saw the process modeler, like we had some pre-processing steps where documents are split into smaller ones. I believe 7 pages or 10 pages, something like that. And then we apply the extraction and using the Gen AI, and then we have a post-processing step to combine the extracted data and then present it on the categorized summary details.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you got it. Could you repeat the question just one more time? I missed part of it.
So it says, can you share which LLM you integrated with Appian Gen AI and what factors influenced the choice?
Yeah, so essentially the AI skills or AI agents that we used for the pilot that is eventually going to be used in production, they're kind of already preset to use a certain large language model that our product team would have kind of figured is the best large language model for that specific feature. And that's true for all features within the Appian platform. We kind of take that guesswork out of it for you. We already determined which one of the LLMs is kind of best for that specific use case or that specific feature.
Thank you. And then VJ, this one is a little bit more for you. As you started to roll out this process with APS extraction and document summarization, how did you get the underwriters to trust it? To know that, okay, the machine did its job. It gave me the information I needed and I can go forward.
That is exactly why we took the pilot approach. So before the pilot was implemented, about 200 APS documents were selected as a sample, and they had records of how long it took to review each one of those. So they maintain a tracker of, okay, document 1, it took like several minutes or several hours, several days. And then what was the evaluation that came out of that? So they had that list. After the solution was implemented, we used the same set of 200 documents, sent it through the solution, and then compared the results between what was done manually versus what was done through the summarized solution. So both matched, and that's what you saw. We hit like 98% match. The 2% was actually, we said it was a mismatch, but it was actually better because the manual review didn't, the underwriters didn't identify a couple of diagnoses, but the summarized, the APS AI summarization solution, it identified those 2 diagnoses. So that was the reason for the 98% match. So because of this accurate matches, they gain confidence, and we will soon be productionizing the solution.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding, and so once the pudding tastes good.
And I love
people
that,
start
if
eating.
I may react on that as well, that piloting, right? Because we often forget to mention that. With Appian, you can pilot things very quickly and show it to the end users to say, this is what we mean. Because there's very different people in your organization, right? I know a customer of ours in his legal insurer, so they are working with 800 lawyers. You can imagine if you're, they are not as technical as other people or not process-minded. So you need to really show them this is what we mean with AI, and they really embraced it and understand it and see the value. So thanks for that example and that question, by the way. Piloting.
Just add one more thing. So underwriters were deeply involved in engineering the prompts. So we went through a few cycles of prompt engineering. The initial one, if it didn't, output whatever the data that were required for them to evaluate, then we refine the prompts, and underwriters were deeply involved in that exercise.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. And remember, for all of us, the AI journey has multiple stages to it. There's a technical journey, making sure the AI can be built to do the thing you want it to do. There's a regulatory journey to make sure that we're following the process, that AI is not going out of bounds, and that our constituents, both internal and external, are okay with the use of AI. And then there's the cultural journey. Do we like AI? Do we like what it's doing? Do we want to trust it? We, day in the back of our minds, is it going to take my job? All these things are real, and they're problems that you have to overcome. But I'll say that AI in process helps to overcome a lot of those because of the guardrails, because of the set inputs and the set outputs. And we know exactly what's happening. And most of the time, when you talk to anyone in underwriting and operations, they know that there's a whole ton of manual work that they shouldn't have to do. A lot of administration that are like, if I could wave my magic wand, that would disappear. Well, let's give them a magic wand and make the stuff they don't want to do disappear. Any other questions that come up?
There's a question also, Vijay, for you. What issues did you face that you weren't expecting in setting this up? It's a broad question, but maybe you have a few things that you remember on that.
I wouldn't call them issues, but again, I go back to the prompts itself. We went through at least 4 or 5 iterations of refining the prompts so that it provides the output that is required. So I wouldn't, it's a development exercise.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call them concerns or issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. What's the possibility of fully automating the approval process within limited human interaction? Yeah, it's a general question. I think if I answer that, I would say it depends on the product line, I think. If it's a simple line of business like a bicycle insurance or car, then that likelihood is probably acceptable for an insurance industry, for an insurer. If you go to more complex, you may want to keep a human in the loop. That would be my take. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, but I also think that the more often your organization sees something, and the more iterations you have to test the AI against what you would do as a human, then the more comfortable you get with that, and then the more comfortable you get with it, the more you let your decisions fly, and you let AI do the work. Again, remember, as a young underwriter, I would spend as much time on $2,500 as I would as $250,000. That makes no sense. I mean, a $2,500 risk could go right through the system, no problem, because the challenge or the downside of being wrong is not the same. And so I can trust a lot more in my ability to allow AI to make some decisions or to allow a machine to work for me are very different. So I think it depends, but there's a lot of opportunity. But straight-through processing should absolutely be a goal for a great amount of your process. And even if you want to leave decision-making to humans, that's perfectly fine. But let's give our humans every opportunity to make the very best decisions available. So
yeah,
we hit our time. So thank you for joining us on this last day of Appian World, where I know many of you want to get to the airport and home. Special thanks to Vijay for putting up with us and for giving us his knowledge and wisdom. And thanks for coming, and we will see you around, and if nothing else, next year. So safe travels.
Thank you.